All the ladies at the club fell for the Korean Mafia boss except the black singer he really wanted. You never look at my table when you perform. She did not stop packing her sheet music. Did not even glance up at the most dangerous man in Seoul standing 3 feet away. Should I? Most performers do. That is where the money sits. Now she looked at him. Eyes steady. Unafraid. The kind of look that had gotten men killed for less. I was not hired to look at money, Mr. Kong. I was hired to sing. Same time tomorrow. Good night. She walked past him like he was furniture. Like his name was not whispered in fear across every district in the city. Like the empire he controlled meant nothing. Kang Do-hyun had never been dismissed in his life. He had been feared, desired, obeyed, but never ignored. And as he stood alone in his own club watching her disappear through the back door, he realized something dangerous was happening. He was fascinated. And in his world, fascination was the most lethal thing a man could feel. Nights at the Crimson Dynasty pulsed like a heartbeat beneath Seoul streets. Golden spotlights cut through cigarette haze, washing velvet booths and crystal glasses in shades of amber and shadow blue. Live jazz floated through conversations like confessions you only made in darkness. Chandeliers scattered fractured light across faces that came here to forget who they really were. The scent of expensive cologne mixed with anticipation, mixed with sin. Every soul there chased something. Power, escape, or a voice that made them forget their sins just long enough to commit new ones. At the center of that storm sat Kang Do-hyun, untouchable, impossibly calm, heir to the Kang syndicate that ruled Seoul's entertainment district and half the underworld beneath it. He was 32 and devastatingly handsome in the way that dangerous things often are. Eyes like black coffee. Warm at first glance, bitter underneath. A voice that never needed to rise even when ordering destruction. He did not have to speak to be obeyed. One look from those eyes made men avoid his gaze and conversations die mid-sentence. Women hovered close to his table, their dresses shimmering as they smiled too brightly, laughed too hard, leaned too close, each one hoping to be chosen, to be noticed, to be the one who finally held the attention of a man who seemed to look through everyone like glass. Do-hyun barely noticed them. Power was routine, wealth exhausting. Attention had become background noise he tuned out like elevator music. For months his finger had traced the rim of his whiskey glass in slow circles. The same absent gesture, over and over. The physical manifestation of boredom so deep it felt like drowning. Then there was Naomi Carter. 6 weeks behind the microphone on his stage, and she still had not given him so much as a real glance. She moved through the spotlight with effortless grace. A 28-year-old African-American vocalist who had appeared in Seoul 18 months ago, like she had materialized from music itself. For octave range. A voice like honey poured over broken glass. Sweet and sharp and unforgettable. She could make a room weep with a single held note. Improvised like she was having conversations with God. Every song felt like a secret she was choosing to share. But never with him. When she sang, her eyes closed or found the back wall. Found elderly couples in corner booths. Found the bartender. Found the saxophonist in her band. Never the VIP section. Never his table. She performed like the most powerful man in the room did not exist. And somehow that made Do-hyun feel invisible for the first time in his life. Other performers played to his booth. Sang directly to him, hoping for tips. For favor. For a moment of his attention that might change their careers. Naomi Carter sang like he was empty air. Professional. Polite. Utterly indifferent. When she finished her sets, she thanked the audience with a smile that seemed genuine. Then disappeared backstage like smoke. Do-hyun told himself it was annoyance. Unprofessional even. Felt a lot like fascination. The first time he really watched her work. Really watched. Something tightened in his chest that had nothing to do with desire and everything to do with recognition. She moved with precision that bordered on holy. No wasted motion. No performance beyond the music itself. Just raw competence that made everyone else look like they were trying too hard. She was the only person in his club who performed as if he was not the most important person in the room. as if being excellent mattered more than being noticed. Excellence. That was what his club manager had said when Do-hyun asked why they hired her. She is the best vocalist in Seoul. Not the prettiest. Not the most charming. The best. Do-hyun had learned long ago that excellence was the only currency that never depreciated. What the manager had not mentioned was her absolute refusal to play the game everyone else in the Crimson Dynasty lived by. If you are already feeling the chemistry, comment where you are watching from, and if you think she will resist or fall for him. Subscribe now. This collision of music and danger is just beginning. That night Do-hyun did something he had not done in years. He dismissed his entourage early, told them to take the back exit, waited until the club had nearly emptied. Then he walked down from his elevated booth to the stage where Naomi was packing her sheet music into a worn leather folder. The silence was thick enough to cut. "You are talented." She did not look up. "Thank you. Good night, Mr. Kong. You know my name. Everyone knows your name. Does not mean everyone needs to use it." Her accent carried faint traces of southern warmth buried beneath city sharpness, like honey that had crystallized into something that could cut. "You never look at the VIP section when you perform." Now she paused, finally looked at him, gaze steady and measuring. "Should I? Most performers do. It is where the money is. I was not hired to look at money. I was hired to sing." She closed her music case with a decisive click. "Same time tomorrow, Mr. Kong. Good night." She walked away, walked past him, did not look back. Do-hyun stood in the empty club surrounded by furniture worth more than most Seoul apartments. Chandeliers that cost more than cars. A sound system that rivaled concert halls. And for the first time in years he felt like the one who had been dismissed. Like he was the one found wanting. His security detail waited outside, confused but silent. The boss had never fixated on a woman who showed no interest. Usually women came to him, competed for him. This was backwards. Wrong. Fascinating. The next night Do-hyun arrived earlier than usual, in time to hear her sound check. She was on stage alone with just the piano player, working through a Billie Holiday song, her voice unadorned. No performance, just music. He took a seat closer to the stage than his usual booth. Not at his table, just a regular spot in the audience. His men exchanged glances. The boss was changing patterns. In their world, patterns kept you alive. Changes meant something. They did not know what. Neither did Do-hyun. When Naomi finished the sound check, she noticed him, gave a small professional nod. "Good evening, Mr. Kong." Then continued reviewing her set list like he was just another customer. Over the following weeks he kept arriving early, kept taking tables closer to the stage, started noticing things he had no business noticing. She hummed while reviewing set lists, wore a thin gold bracelet she touched before every performance like a ritual, drank only hot water with lemon between sets, was kind to the waitstaff, knew all their names. Her laugh when it came was rare and unexpected and sounded like music itself. The club noticed. Of course they noticed. Whispers spread like smoke through the velvet darkness. Why was Kang Do-hyun sitting at regular tables? Why was he watching the singer like that? What was happening? Who was in trouble? The other women who used to orbit his booth whispered in bathrooms. What does she have? It will not last. It never does. She is playing a game. Has to be. Bets were placed in quiet corners. How long before she ended up in his bed? How long before she disappeared? Money exchanged hands on her future like she was a stock option. Naomi ignored it all. If she heard the whispers, she gave no sign. Just continued performing with the same focused excellence. The same professional distance. The same refusal to acknowledge that the most dangerous man in Seoul was rearranging his life to watch her sing. Then came the night that changed things. A group of foreign businessmen, drunk on soju and power, talking too loud near the stage during her performance. Do-hyun watched from his table, jaw tightening, finger no longer tracing his glass, just still, dangerously still. Between songs one of them called out, "Hey American girl, sing something we can dance to." Less of this sad stuff. His friend laughed. Maybe she does not understand Korean. Another voice. Where did they import her from anyway? The room shifted. Conversations stopped. Everyone who knew anything about the Crimson Dynasty knew you did not disrespect the performers. Not here. Not in his club. Naomi paused at the microphone, looked directly at the men for the first time. When she spoke, her Korean was flawless. Gentlemen, I understand Korean, English, and disrespect in every language. This next song is for anyone who confuses volume with value. She launched into a devastating rendition of a slow ballad, something in Korean that talked about men who mistake loudness for strength. The whole room fell silent. The businessmen shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that everyone was watching them, judging them. Do-hyun did not move, did not gesture, but one of his men appeared beside the businessman's table, leaned down, whispered something. Their faces went pale. They stood, stumbled over apologies, left before the song ended. After the show, Naomi found Do-hyun at his table. Your man said something to those businessmen. Did he? They looked like they had seen a ghost. What did he say? That this club has standards and consequences for violating them. I did not need protection. I know. You handled it beautifully. But some lessons need to be taught twice. She studied him, really looked at him. Why do you care what happens to your entertainment? You are not entertainment. You are art. I do not let anyone deface art. Something shifted in her expression. Not softening exactly, but recalculating. Like she was solving an equation she had gotten wrong the first time. She did not respond. Just nodded once. Walked away. But the next night, when she took the stage, she looked at his table. Just once. Just for a moment. Their eyes met across the crowded room. She did not smile. Neither did he. But something passed between them. Acknowledgement, maybe. Or the beginning of understanding. Days became weeks. The pattern continued. He watched. She sang. Small changes emerged in the careful distance between them. She started placing a glass of whiskey at the corner of the stage before her set. He never asked for it. She never asked if he wanted it. But it was always there. Always the right bottle. Always neat. Like she had studied what he drank and remembered. He started noticing when she was tired. When her eyes carried shadows that makeup could not hide. When she favored her left foot slightly like her shoes hurt. He would send a bottle of water with lemon to her dressing room. No note. No explanation. She never thanked him. But she drank it. They were building something fragile in the spaces between words. Not friendship. Not romance. Something unnamed that existed only in glances. In drinks left unstated. In songs chosen. In the careful measure of distance maintained and slowly closed. Then one night she requested a schedule change. The manager brought the request to Do-hyun personally. She wants Sundays off permanently. She has another commitment. Approved. Do-hyun said it without hesitation. Then added. Where does she go on Sundays? The manager hesitated. A small venue in Hongdae. Open mic night. No pay. She just shows up and sings. Do-hyun nodded. Dismissed him. Sat alone in his office thinking about a woman who performed at the most exclusive club in Seoul for top money. Then spent her day off singing for free in a cramped bar where nobody knew her name. He told himself he would not go. Told himself it was crossing a line. Told himself a lot of things that did not stop him from showing up at the small venue in Hongdae the following Sunday. The place was everything the Crimson Dynasty was not. Small, warm, honest. Mismatched chairs crowded around tables that had seen decades of spilled drinks and carved initials. A single spotlight barely strong enough to matter. The smell of beer and coffee and humanity packed close. No velvet. No crystal. No pretense. Just people who came because they loved music. Not status. Not power. Just the sound. Do-hyun wore simple clothes. No suit. No entourage. Took a seat in the back corner where shadows pooled thick. Ordered a beer he would not drink. Waited. When Naomi took the small stage, she was different. Jeans and a simple black top. Hair loose instead of styled. No makeup beyond what she wore in daylight. And when she sat on the stool with just a microphone and her voice. No band. No arrangement. Just her. Something in his chest cracked open. She sang an old Nina Simone song. Raw and unpolished and so honest it hurt to hear. In his club she was professional. Excellent. Controlled. Here she sang like breathing. Like prayer. Like the music was being pulled from somewhere deep inside her that had nothing to do with performance and everything to do with survival. Halfway through the song her eyes found him in the back corner. She did not stop singing. Did not falter. But he saw the flash of surprise. Then something else. Maybe curiosity. Maybe anger. The song continued. Her voice somehow got deeper. More real. When she finished, the small crowd applauded. She thanked them quietly, said she needed air, walked outside into the narrow alley behind the venue. Do-hyun followed. She was leaning against the brick wall, arms wrapped around herself, breath misting in the cold soul night. Following me now. I heard you sing here. I wanted to understand. Understand what? Why you perform at my club like it is a job, but here you sing like it is breathing. She looked at him for a long moment. Because here I am not performing for anyone. I am just being. And at my club, at your club, everything is a transaction. Everyone wants something, including you. What do you think I want? I do not know yet. That is what worries me. She pushed off the wall, started to walk past him. He did not move to stop her. But he spoke. I keep coming because when you sing I remember that real things exist. She stopped, turned back. What? In my world everything is performance. Loyalty is purchased. Love is leverage. People smile while planning your death. But when you sing, there is nothing fake about it. Nothing calculated. It reminds me that authenticity is possible. Even if I have forgotten how to access it myself. The confession hung between them. More than he had meant to say. More than he had admitted to himself. Naomi studied him. Really looked. Like she was seeing past the expensive clothes he was not wearing. Past the reputation. Past the carefully constructed armor. Seeing the man underneath who was so lonely, he drove across Seoul to sit in a cramped bar just to hear something true. You know what is dangerous about that? What? If you want real, you cannot buy it. You cannot intimidate it into existence. And you definitely cannot control it. I know. Do you? The challenge hung between them. Not hostile, almost gentle, like she was testing whether he understood what he was asking for. He met her eyes. I know that everything I touch becomes part of my world. I know that my world destroys real things. I know that wanting something authentic while being who I am is the definition of futility. But I still come, because 1 hour of real is worth more than everything else I own. She was quiet for so long he thought she would walk away. Leave him standing in the alley with his confession cooling in the night air. Instead she said, I am here every Sunday. Back corner table is usually empty if you want it. Then she went back inside. Do-hyun stood in the alley breathing cold air that suddenly felt easier in his lungs. Something had shifted. Not broken. Not fixed. Just opened. He returned to the Crimson Dynasty that night, but everything looked different. The glamour felt thin. Artificial. The women at his booth seemed like actresses reading lines. The music perfectly produced and utterly soulless. He left early. His men confused. The boss never left early. The following Sunday he returned to Hongdae. Took the back corner table. Naomi saw him. Gave the smallest nod. Sang like he was not there. And somehow that felt more intimate than if she had performed for him directly. It became routine. Sundays in Hongdae. The rest of the week at the Crimson Dynasty. Two versions of the same woman. Professional Naomi who kept her distance. Sunday Naomi who sang like her heart was breaking and healing in the same breath. He never approached her after the shows. Never pushed. Just listened. Just existed in the same space. Just allowed himself 1 hour a week of something that felt real. At the Crimson Dynasty things changed too. Small shifts. She started nodding at him when she took the stage. Professional acknowledgement, but acknowledgement nonetheless. He stopped bringing anyone to his table. Sat alone. The women who used to compete for his attention began to realize the game had changed. They were no longer playing for his interest. They had already lost to someone who was not even competing. Mina Park noticed first. She was the daughter of a politician with connections to rival families. Beautiful, calculating, had been positioning herself as the future Mrs. Kong for 2 years. She watched Do-hyun watch Naomi with eyes that missed nothing. One night she cornered Naomi in the dressing room after a show. Enjoying the attention, Naomi looked up from removing her stage makeup. "I am just here to sing. You are here because he lets you be here. Do not confuse tolerance with interest." "I have not confused anything." "Maybe you have." Mina stepped closer, heels clicking on tile. "Women like you come and go. We have seen dozens burn out chasing what they cannot have. The smart ones learn their place." Naomi met her gaze in the mirror. "And women like you, what happens to them? We survive. We adapt. We get what we want." Naomi turned on her stool, looked directly at Mina. "Then why are you in here warning me instead of out there getting him?" Mina's face hardened, carefully applied composure cracking just enough to show rage underneath. "You do not know what you are playing with, little bird. His world eats women like you alive." Naomi stood, matched her height in flat shoes against Mina's heels. "And women like you, what does it do to them?" The question landed like a slap. Mina had no answer, just turned and left, heels clicking fury against tile. But the encounter left marks, invisible but present. The whispers grew louder. The other staff began treating Naomi differently, some with more respect, fear of association, some with resentment, jealousy at favor they assumed she was receiving. Customers started making complicated drink orders during her sets, disrupting her performance, then complaining the songs were not right. Sound equipment malfunctioned. Her dressing room was double booked. Small cruelties that bloomed like mold in dark corners. Naomi never complained, never acknowledged the sabotage, just continued performing at an even higher level. Her professionalism became armor, impenetrable and cold. Do-hyun saw everything. Of course he saw. He saw the isolation, the quiet cruelty, the strength it took to pretend it did not hurt. And he said nothing. Did nothing. Because he knew she would hate to be rescued, would see it as proof she could not survive his world on her own terms. But it cost him, watching her be hurt by proximity to him, knowing his interest had painted a target on her back, knowing that caring about her had made her vulnerable in ways she had not been before. One night after closing he found her on the rooftop terrace where staff sometimes took breaks. Soul spread below them, a galaxy of lights against velvet darkness. Naomi stood at the railing, shoulders tense, a cigarette burning between her fingers though she was not smoking it, just watching the ember consume paper. "You do not smoke." She did not turn. "No, but sometimes I need to remember what destruction looks like up close." The words carried weight beyond their surface, heavy with meanings he could only partially grasp. "Mina, what did she say to you?" Naomi glanced at him, surprise flickering across her features. "You saw that?" "I see everything in my club. Not a boast. Simple truth." She turned back to the city, dropped the cigarette, crushed it beneath her heel. "Nothing I have not heard before. Women have been telling me to know my place since I was old enough to understand what that meant." The bitterness in her voice cut through the night air, raw and real. Do-hyun felt an unfamiliar urge to comfort, to protect. He suppressed it, knowing she would reject such gestures. "Your place is wherever you decide it should be." Maya looked at him, really looked, eyes that seemed to peel back layers of carefully constructed persona to the man beneath. "Is that what you believe or what you think I want to hear? Does it matter?" "Yes." The single word carried absolute conviction. Truth matters, especially in a world built on lies. Do-hyun considered this, the weight of her moral certainty against the compromise of his existence. Then yes, I believe it. Your place is your choice. That is why you are here. Why I hired you. You do not let others define your boundaries. Unlike everyone else in your world, the accusation hung between them, sharp but not entirely unfair. Yes, unlike everyone else, the honesty seemed to surprise her, softened something in her expression. Why do you come to the bar every night, Do-hyun? Why watch me work? Why follow me to Hongdae? What are you looking for? The questions tumbled out, one after another, like a dam had broken, questions she had been holding back for weeks. Finally released into the night air between them, Do-hyun turned to face the city, found it easier to speak truth to darkness than to those penetrating eyes. I do not know. That is what interests me. Not knowing. In my life everything is calculated, measured, known, risks assessed, outcomes predicted. But you, he paused, searched for words. You are an equation I cannot solve, a variable I cannot control, and that makes you the most interesting person in my world. The confession hung between them, raw and unexpected. Naomi was silent for so long he thought she might not respond at all. When she finally spoke, her voice carried no judgment, only quiet understanding. That is a dangerous thing to be in your world. The most interesting person. Yes, it is. She nodded once, absorbing this truth. Good night, Do-hyun. As she walked away, he remained at the railing, watching the city that belonged to him yet somehow failed to fill the hollow space expanding in his chest. Something had shifted between them tonight. Not broken, not connected, but irrevocably changed. Then came the night that shattered everything.